Welcome to Washoe Live. I'm your co-host, Nancy Lewinhagen, Communications Director here at Washoe County.
And I'm Bethany Drysdale, Communications Manager, and we are in a pretty exciting place today.
Yeah, we are not at Washoe County, in case you couldn't tell. We are at the Nevada Air National Guard Base, right next to the Reno Tahoe International Airport, and we have some amazing guests. I feel like we're being pretty patriotic, right? Because
we are. So you're listening to this, hopefully right ahead of July 4th. And part of why we wanted to be here, because this is an important base to Northern Nevada as well as to Western United States, the United States as a whole. So just so that I don't butcher names and titles, because that's my biggest fear when I'm introducing somebody, I'm going to let you introduce yourselves and a little background, who you are, what you do.
Thanks, Bethany. Captain Emerson Marcus, Public Affairs Officer, Nevada National Guard. Here today, obviously, I've worked with both of you in my previous life as a newspaper reporter, and really excited to have this conversation today to talk about the Nevada National Guard, specifically the Nevada Air National Guard.
Yeah, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Dave McNally. I'm a squadron commander here for the High Rollers. I've been in this unit for 18 years, so a long time, getting towards the end. But I've been in Northern Nevada this whole time. I love being part of the community up here, and really our squadron is part of the community. So that's one of the biggest things I like about it. I'm a pilot, so I've been flying these airplanes around the area this entire time. So when you see a big gray airplane, it's probably me or some of our guys, our girls that are out here flying.
What's a high roller?
So High Rollers, that's the name of our squadron. We are the High Rollers. Specifically, we're the 192nd Airlift Squadron, part of the 152nd Airlift Wing. So designators for military units all have numbers, but we've been, the 192nd's been here, in the community since 1948. Actually, here on the airport since, what year was it?
1954.
1954.
Yeah.
You guys have a rich history here in Northern Nevada, obviously.
Yeah, actually, the High Rollers nickname comes from, obviously, there's a gambling connotation to it, right? Because we're Reno, Nevada, and our history. But in 1980, a magazine that's still in publication, Airman Magazine, did a feature story on our unit. Back then, we were flying F-4 jets and doing a reconnaissance mission, and they dubbed us the High Rollers of Reno, and the nickname has stuck, and you'll see it on the tail flash of all our aircraft as well. So we take great pride in that nickname.
We definitely do.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of us who don't come from a military background, describe a little bit. You mentioned National Guard, then specifically Air National Guard. What's the difference, or what is the space exactly?
I can answer that one. So in the National Guard, we have, the National Guard has been part of our country's history and our military tradition going back to even before the Revolutionary War. And it started off as mainly an army force, a military force that would respond to domestic and in response to presidential orders overseas or for wartime, right? And in 1947, with the creation of the Air Force, that would falling under the Army, we started having Air National Guard units around the state. And that year, Reno got a unit, and since then, it's been our only Air National Guard, our main Air National Guard unit here in Nevada. So we have Army and Air, and here in Reno, Nevada, you have the Nevada Air National Guard.
Yeah, and one of the cool parts about the National Guard or the Air National Guard for us is we have our wartime job, to be ready to go out and fight our nation's wars, but we also have a community job. So as the Air National Guard, our governor can activate us in time of crisis or when we have wildfires. That's the best part about being a guardsman. Not only do you do that national job, but also you're here for your community, and that's what I really like about it as a guardsman.
So you're up during a wildfire. Tell us what you're doing.
Right. So we are a MAFS unit, so modular airborne firefighting system. We can put it onto the airplane. It doesn't take away our warfighting capability. It just rolls on, and we turn ourselves into a large air tanker, a LAT. So we can be used by the Forest Service when they become depleted, all the resources. Think like, towards the end of the fire season, or big fires like the Dixie or the Caldor that we saw a couple of years ago. They can activate us, and we'll supplement the civilian tanker force. We don't come in at the beginning. We usually supplement them. We're surge capability. But these tankers can drop 3,000 gallons of retardant, or 29,000 pounds of retardant. So it's a lot of weight, and we can make a difference. and we're here, when our nation needs us or when our community needs us.
Wow.
Yeah,
A lot of responsibility.
it's a mission that the Forest Service has done since 1972, and our unit here in Reno got the mission in 2016. So there's only 4 military units in the country that do this firefighting mission with the Forest Service.
Wait. And say that again.
That's pretty big.
Out of all the National Guard around the country, there's only 4 that do wildfire fighting, and this is one of them?
Yes, there's one in Channel Islands, California, here in Reno, Nevada. There's also one in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and Colorado Springs, Colorado.
Wow. So do you also get deployed to other areas then for wildfire fighting?
Yeah, so the Forest Service and the Air Force work together. They stand up a group, and then they decide where they need us. So that might be an area that's depleted down in Southern California. We've fought fire up in obviously Nevada. We've done it up in Oregon, Colorado. Usually the West, it seems like that's where the biggest fires are, with current conditions. So normally it's the West that that's towards the end of the season when the West starts burning, and they're depleted by then and they need our help. So
yeah, and those missions come from the National Interagency Fire Center in Boise, Idaho. So the Forest Service on large-scale wildland fires around the West will deem whether or not the contracted fleet is depleted and needs assistance from the military. So it's important to note that if these are for specific fires that the federal government wants these military assets on, and occasionally if the governor wanted to, because we are the Nevada Air National Guard, the state could activate us as well.
Wow.
So, but we also have our Army aviation assets instead that go on fires. But our Nevada Air National Guard firefighters, aerial firefighters, are activated every single year basically, and they were even activated for the LA fires earlier this year.
And that was interesting, fighting fire. We had an airplane in Antarctica flying down to, the ice in February because we thought there would be no fire issues. And then we got activated pretty much by the president at that point to go fight fires in LA.
So fire and ice.
Yeah.
Wow.
The Fire and Ice Squadron, we're calling
Yeah.
ourselves.
They're high rollers. You guys, that's crazy.
In Antarctica and in Los Angeles.
Wow.
Yeah. People don't realize just in this, in our community, our small Reno, we're literally going out and touching the world. Last year, we've operated on 7 continents. So all 7 continents we touched. And that's kind of a big deal. When we take off out of here, we really do make a difference in the world.
Well, and I feel like this is kind of a hidden secret then. I mean, you're next to the airport, but not really visible unless you're, really driving back in here. How big is the space? How many employees? Like, it's a lot of families, I'm sure, depend on the space.
It's not really a huge air base in comparison to other air bases.
Small footprint.
Yeah, small footprint. We have about
results.
Yep, small footprint, good results. Yes,
I
like that too. We have about 1,200 members in this unit. Most of them, 75% are part-time. So we're looking at about 300 full-time employees, and then we have the traditional force that are members of the community. When I was working at the Reno Gazette-Journal, I was also a member of the Guard. So I would work during the week and then 1 week in a month to fulfill my military duties.
Right.
Now I'm full-time. So 75% part-time force. It's important to mention that, I think. We are a reserve military force for the state.
But these are your neighbors.
These are your neighbors.
That are really making a difference.
We like to say neighbors helping neighbors. That's what the Nevada National Guard is. Yeah.
It's amazing. I just don't think people understand, like you're saying, all the continents that you reach and the work that's being done from this airbase.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we want to get our story out. So
Yeah.
like you folks and Emerson here in PA, we like to let our community know, because I think a lot of people want to know and they're proud of, the military here in Nevada and our history, and they want to know the story. So we
Right.
try to get it out there as much as we can.
I don't think most people would know. I mean, obviously, you understand what but even, not even, but the firefighting aspect, that's something that affects all of us every summer.
I know, exactly. And I think that's the big, with getting the MAFS mission here, I think we fought for it for a long time. And finally, it's a big political instrument. So they finally put MAFS here in Northern Nevada, and we're within 1 hour of us is just the majority of the fires that have happened historically over the past 50 years. 90% of the fires within 1 hour of flying from here. So there's a reason why MAFS is put here. And then for the crews that do the mission, we absolutely love the mission because we can actually make a difference with our airplanes. And we've gone out, and the next day a whole community is still standing because we were able to put retardant lines down and help move the fire around the city, or the town. So it's probably the most, I mean, it's the best mission you can be part of for an aviator, I think.
And you've been flying, we were talking a little before, you've been flying your entire life.
Right. Yeah. Most of my adult life, 18 years in the Guard. I've been flying the C-130 here for 15 years after training and all those things.
And commercially.
Yep, as an airline pilot.
So what does it feel like when tell us the difference? I've certainly never sat in a cockpit and flown. So when you're flying something commercially and then you're taking up one of these to.
Yeah, flying airliners is boring. Flying these airplanes is fun. So, I mean, the diversity of flying the C-130, it's probably the most diverse airplane you can fly in the Air Force. You can work with Navy SEALs one day where you're dropping them from 20,000 feet and they're going into the ocean to go meet a submarine underwater, to flying low levels to evade radars. We train for that. A lot of the reasons you see us around the community flying low isn't to look cool, although we try to look cool.
Okay.
But
It's done.
Yeah.
Let's just say
You got that. Yeah.
But the main reason is we're going out and we're tactical airlift, which means we're using our tactics to get in somewhere and deliver either supplies or personnel for the combatant commanders. So we're training to avoid radars that want to look for you and kill you. That's why we're flying low. Also, we use low level and speed to get away from surface missiles like heat-seeking missiles. So you'll see us doing maneuvers and things, again, not to look cool, but it's literally to defeat these threats, and that's what we have to train for, to be ready for. So you can do that one day, and then the next day you're fighting fires, or you're flying to Antarctica to go, keep up with the penguins.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So you do something interesting that I got to benefit from recently. When you're doing some training missions on the C-130, you invite community members to come along, from elected officials, government officials, and I don't know, somehow I guess I stuck out my thumb and they picked me up. But what a cool way to show really firsthand what you do. And once I was inside that thing, I was blown away. Like, this is really heavy machinery here that we are lucky enough to have here. It's kind of a dumb question, but why do you do that? I mean, you're training, so why load it up with a bunch of people and take them over Lake Tahoe and open up the back? When you open the back, I was like, oh my gosh, this is just the coolest thing ever.
Keeping up relations.
Yeah. And also, we are looking to have a ramp extension here, and we were able to fortunately get some funding from the state. Most of our funding comes from the federal government. So when we do stuff like that, it's to let elected officials and members of the community know what we do, what this money's going to, why this unit is important to have here for not just our state, but also for our nation. So and these are regularly training events that pilots and crew have to do to maintain their standards and currencies. So if we can do that, knock that out, and also give members of the community a chance to see what the mission is, it's always a great opportunity for us.
And I picked up a tidbit on that flight, that there was a recent decision to send the newest fleet of the C-130s elsewhere. Tell us about that.
So right now, you might know more about this, sir, but about the J models, there are a certain amount of J models that are in production. And right now they're giving the newest ones, or the ones that are coming out of manufacturing, to Cheyenne, Wyoming. We are happy for our partners in Cheyenne. Like, every C-130 unit should be upgraded to C-130J. Unfortunately, it was going to leave one of the firefighting units out, and that happened to be Reno. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to keep fighting for modernization here in Reno, Nevada. We are going to keep fighting for that, for the longevity of this unit in the community, right? So, but that decision did come earlier this spring, and we are constantly in conversation with our congressional delegates and our federal elected officials to keep pushing for why it's important to have it.
And hopefully our governor as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important to get the J model, like Emerson said, because the fleet is modernizing. And it's hard to have the oldest airplanes that aren't supported by the total force anymore. So we have to fix ourselves if we break on the road. And it's hard with just 8 airplanes. You need the full Air Force behind you. So upgrading gives us new capabilities too. You get to carry 10,000 more pounds of cargo and other pallet positions, so you can affect the fight with more capabilities. And that's the main reason we need it. And then firefighting, having a fleet that's all the same, then we can interoperate. If California needs us, or if we need California, we can just send crews back and forth. So just more flexibility to be able to fight fires when they need us.
Does this affect the future at all of the high rollers?
I think it could if we don't want to be left with the last oldest airplanes. And, right now, I think the appetite in the Air National Guard is to change all the C-130 units to J, to modernize everyone. But we want to get in that line and get it sooner, so we're not the last. I think it's important to stay, like I said, reaching out to our representative officials. That's one of the reasons, again, that we do those flights, is to let them know our story, kind of like how you heard about it. That we do need help, and we need our elected officials to reach out and make sure that we keep a flying mission here in Northern Nevada.
I was also impressed how kind of all-inclusive those machines, those massive airplanes are, because you're up in the air, or could be up in the air for hours upon hours upon hours, right?
I've done a 12-hour flight. I think that's about the longest we can do. We don't aerial refuel these airplanes. Some C-130s can, but we don't do that. But yeah, it's a long time. So the crews are very tight-knit. We talk about ourselves as a family, because we literally, whatever, the 6 of you are going around the world together, and this is your little piece of Nevada, your little piece of America. And they're going out, Papua New Guinea or South America. We just got a crew back from South America too. I mean, we're literally all over the world. So you have to depend on each other.
And there's a lot of stuff packed in there, apparently.
Sometimes, yeah.
Like an apartment.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes we're airdropping it out too, and then you can get rid of it. So.
They do a lot of that as well. Yeah.
Do you travel as much too, Emerson?
I travel occasionally. I'm mostly staying here in Northern Nevada.
Oh, we get them up there to take pictures.
Do you? Yeah. Yeah, you get to get up. Well,
He
that's
gets
your
some
job.
He gets some cool events.
It's my job to tell a story of the Nevada Air National Guard. So yeah, and it's a great story. I mean, we just hit our 75th anniversary in 2023, and I was able to work with the Nevada Historical Society to write an article in the Quarterly about the history of the Air Guard, and it goes all the way back, like I said, to 48. They deployed for the Korean War. We were primarily a Cold War fighting force for a long period with the reconnaissance mission with F-4 and F-101 before that jets. So when we talk about our community involvement, I think a lot in the 60s and 70s and 80s, people got to hear us quite a bit because we flew jets, the F-4.
Very loud.
So it was very loud. These aircraft are a little different. They're not as loud. And it's the workhorse of the Air Force, the C-130. So cargo, personnel transport, and firefighting. So throughout it all, we've been here in Reno, Nevada, the high rollers of Reno, and we've always had a really close connection with the community. It really is pretty amazing. Our aviation history here in Reno there's a lot to it for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, air races.
Air races, yeah.
Down.
Yeah.
And so there's 8 of them, 8
C-130s.
So what I learned sitting here when a jet landed, and you're like, that's not us, remember?
No, that was Navy.
Because that's Navy. But of course they're here landing and training and doing all this.
Not too far away. Yeah. We got Top Gun.
Yeah, that's right.
And, we try to be good stewards because we know it can be loud. So at night or early in the morning, we don't run our operations during that time and do multiple patterns here at the airport. We'll try to just do one to a full stop. And we are quieter. If we have our power back, that's one of the ways that we stay, quiet to infiltrate into a drop zone maybe. So yeah, we try to keep the noise down for the community. So we're not always trying to show off. Trying to be quiet as well, especially at night.
So in a couple of days, will be 4th of July, and it's going to kick off a year-long celebration of how do you say that? Because in Nevada, we had to learn how to say sesquicentennial. But now
250th.
Yes. I don't know what the word for that is, but I'm sure we're all going to have to learn how to say
Put me on the spot, Bethany. I knew this the other day because the Army just celebrated its 250th birthday. So I did look it up, and I've forgotten.
Yeah. Okay, my apologies. I didn't mean to put you on the spot for that.
But it is
But
an
it will be a
anniversary.
year. It'll be year celebrations, and I imagine you're gonna get a lot of calls for flyovers and all the celebrations that happen. Tell us about that. Is that the fun stuff you get to do?
We love to do the flyovers. So we just did some flyovers for the Reno Rodeo. I think for the 4th of July, we have a flyover in Bridgeport and some over the lakes. There is a process to get a flyover, so anyone can request a flyover or an organization. I think Emerson knows more about how to.
Yeah, the request process is you have to go through the Secretary of Air Force Public Affairs office. They have a website. You tell them your event. You explain why you want the flyover, when, where, and they approve it in D.C. And then you have to find a unit. And if you're in Reno, the closest unit is us. So we are more than happy to help after it's been goes through the approval process. And if anyone wants to find out about that, they can always reach out to me. So
My favorite flyover is the Nevada Day Parade. So whoever is flying that, I'm going to wave and I'm going to say, I know that person, even though I don't know who.
We'll rock the wings for you back.
Colonel McNally, that's who it is. It's always going to be you, no matter if it's you or not.
Yeah.
But now we know. Oh, you go.
Well, so yeah, I imagine you guys are going to be busy over this next year, and that's it's exciting. It's an exciting time.
Yeah, it's definitely an exciting time. I mean, 250 years of America. Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
And we tie those to our local training lines. So, we're not wasting any kind of resources. We can take off, and run a training line through there. So it just, it coincides with it. And we love doing it.
Hey, we want you guys to train. So everybody should want you guys to, right?
We need to be ready.
Yeah. What is the one thing about your job that people may not or might find surprising that you do? I'm going to ask you too, Emerson, but I'm going to start with Lieutenant Colonel McNally.
That they might find surprising. I really do think it's just how diverse our mission is. I think people see us and they think of an airliner, like we take off and we go up in the air and then we come down 8 hours later somewhere new. But really, we fly low level, high G. It's not high G, but a couple Gs. And it is a physical event. I know you may see it when you went on our flight, but the stress that the crew comes under when they're doing these low-level events, it's not like being an airline pilot. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. It's tactical airlift. So I think that's what it is. You see it and you think, oh, that's just another airplane. But really, it's very diverse. And when we get down low and we're yanking and banking and trying to evade these radars, it's a whole different ballgame. So
I'll tell you the first time one of the first times I ever did a flight with them, they were doing touch and goes, right? And I got very sick.
What's a touch and go?
So you want to explain a touch?
Touch and go is when it's a landing pattern, and instead of stopping, we just put the power back in and take off. We do multiples of these to train.
I think I just got air sick.
I just was in that plane praying for it to get back to the base.
Well, yeah, but when you're at 200-300 feet off the deck, off the ground, and you're doing 300 miles an hour, things are happening fast. It's a very dynamic environment, and it's a physical environment, and our crews are the best at it. I think that's like a lot of people when they go on an actual TAC flight with us, they're like, we had no idea that's what this airplane did. We have no clue.
It's amazing the maneuvers they can do in such a big plane.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the way we survive. We have to be good at it.
That's impressive. And for you, what's?
Well, for me, for my job is I'm Army and Air. So I'm joint. So I do a lot of work with the Army too. We have about 3,200 soldiers in the Army Guard here in Nevada and 1,200 members in the Air Guard. So keep them both happy. They do a lot of great things here for our community, not just here in Northern Nevada, but also in Las Vegas. We have a huge Army force down in Vegas as well. So, yes. And one thing about this state that's interesting is we are a one-wing state, meaning our Airlift Wing here in Reno is our one wing for Nevada Air National Guard.
There's more usually, right?
There's more. There's usually like some state like California has 3. This is our Air National
And that's
Guard.
another reason why we need to make sure we modernize with the J model, because we only have that one wing. So if we lose a wing, we're out of the game.
That makes sense. All right.
So what's up on the horizon for the two of you for this base?
Well, we want to keep getting the word out about the importance of the J model upgrade and why we need and deserve, really, quite frankly, modernized equipment here in Reno. And given the history, given the heritage, and the what we've done here in Reno, we want to keep it going for another 75 years. So getting that new equipment is really important for us, not just for the Air Base, not just for the Nevada Air National Guard, but for Reno and Washoe County.
Yeah. This unit, we're always maintaining readiness. So we have to be ready to go out at a moment's notice and fight our nation's wars, and also with firefighting. So right now we're standing by. You can see the tails out there have the orange numbers on them. We're ready to go. We're ready to go fight fires. So I think the main thing is just maintaining our readiness. We're actually going to be in a readiness posture this fall. So we're the first to be called if the nation needs us to go out anywhere in the world. So I have to have my people, our crews, ready for that. I think that's what we're always striving for, is our readiness.
That's a lot. That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it is, but we love doing it. And, getting to go out and fly everywhere in the world, and that's what we signed up for, and that's what we want to do, and take care of our community. So
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thank you for your time today. This has been
So enlightening.
This is the point. This is what we love doing, talking to interesting people, really mattering, really making a difference in our communities.
we need to get you up flying.
Oh my gosh.
See?
I know. Well, I'm a little nervous, but I think I can do it. I think I need to do it because you're right. Every time I see you guys up in the air, I'm never going to think of this in the same way again after having this conversation with you guys.
Good. That's what we want. We want people to know about our story.
All right. I'm not going to be afraid.
And most people only know us when they're flying out of the Reno Tahoe airport, right?
Right.
They see the great hulking C-130s out there, or they might see us in the air. But every time you see us, just know that's the Nevada Air National Guard.
People to work
So
in.
your neighbors helping neighbors.
Your neighbors helping neighbors.
And thank you. So interesting just to learn about what you do. And we just really appreciate the time.
Well, thanks from the high rollers too. We all appreciate you doing this.
Now we know what the high rollers are.
There you go.
And thank you for listening, watching, wherever you are listening or watching to this. If you have ideas for people that we should be talking to, like these two wonderful gentlemen, let us know. You can email washoe311@washoecounty.gov.
Until next time, live your best Washoe life.